Hey there, everybody in the FFBE Global Facebook group, and hello to everybody who sees this video on YouTube as well. Welcome to episode 100 of Ask an Old Mog, where we take a look at questions from the global Facebook group and try and answer them in a visual way to help people have a better understanding of mechanics and how-to and tips for playing the game. And I'm really excited to talk about something that just came out in the game yesterday that has been raising some eyebrows and some questions in the global Facebook group, and that is the new in combat overlay. Let's take a look. We've been seeing some questions kind of like this. What are all these new things on the battle screen? And the short answer to that is that yesterday during the global update, we got an update to the on-screen overlays that give more accurate information about buffs, breaks, and chaining that you can use to your advantage in combat. Basically, this kind of gives you a quicker look at what's going on in the fight. So we just got into this fight. Notice we're on turn 1. Nobody has used any actions yet, and I want to go over some information right now. At the start of our battle, our enemy has no stat buffs or breaks. He does have some things floating over his head. You can kind of see that. And our party has some things floating over our head as well, mainly auto buffs that are cast by Ihana. I'm going to show you, exactly what I mean here. So if I go into Vilk and I long press on him, I can see that he does have some boosts, right? But he doesn't have any breaks right here. It says none. And none of this says boost attack, boost defense, boost spirit, nothing like that. So no stat buffs, no stat breaks, just some things that he auto casts on himself. And we got to that by long pressing. But I'm gonna show you the new overlay by opening up Rain's skill menu to apply some buffs to our party and some breaks to the boss. So we'll swipe over on Rain, and right away we can see these new menus. These menus at a quick glance tell us what Vilk's elemental resistance and imperil is, but also what buffs we have on our units. And notice there's some arrows right here on the side of Rain that tell us, if we click the left one, we're going to go to see Fina. The right one, we're going to go to see Ihana, right? And Richt, I can go back to Ihana. I mean, you can kind of cycle through your allies and see what's going on. We're going to stick on Rain for right now. And notice that because Ihana is EX2, that she's automatically cast us a killer buff for us 100% for humans and dragons. Vilk is a human and dragon enemy, so it is showing us the effects that are actually in play right here, right now. Pretty cool. Let's go ahead and apply those buffs though. So we're going to click on Enfyriga and Aldor Leader for a stat buff for ourselves, and True Undermine to undermine Vilk a little bit. And let's take a look and see what happens. Alrighty. You can see right away that now Vilk's health bar has some symbols above it, telling us that there's an 85% penalty to all 4 of his abilities thanks to Rain's break. Right, so it says 85, it says defense, attack, magic, spirit. We can also see this by going into his long press on his sprite. Right, we can see the breaks there, but it doesn't tell us the amount. It just tells us what break is in effect, just not the amount. And that's it. But without having to get into his sprite in details, we can see that we have breaks in place, which is very nice to see. You can see the amount. You can see when it goes into effect. If we were to put a higher break on, it immediately updates, and you see the higher break here. But notice we don't have any stat buffs on him. I want to bounce a spell onto him so you can see what it looks like when he has a buff to his stats. So I'm going to use Knights of Granshield here. Mine happens to be wearing Carbuncle so he can reflect himself. There we go. And Fina is going to cast Protectka on the party, which is going to bounce off of Knights of Granshield and onto Richt, and you're going to see his little symbols upgrade. There we go. Notice that now he has a boosted defense. It doesn't tell us how much his defense is boosted, just that his defense is increased. We can see that by going into the long press as well, right? Boost defense. So you can see that at a glance, either way, however you want to do. And you can also see other kinds of imperils and other kinds of information in these menus as well. So right now I'm going to go ahead and do a couple other things. I'm going to use Richt to apply a weapon imperil and a light imperil. So we're going to use Richt to do, we'll go ahead and do Leading Legend for a weapon imperil, Luminous Burst for a light imperil, and Leading Light for just a boost for himself. Just something to use our third action. There we go. Now, I'm going to go ahead and open up Ihana. No, I want to point something out. Our Ihana happens to be wearing a light elemental sword. You know, there's a reason why. And that is that this way we can see the effect of having that weapon imperial in place. When we open up Ihana's menu, we will see that. So here's Ihana, right? We're going to go ahead and open her up. And notice we see now weapon resistance sword is on there because that was not there before, but now Richt has used that skill and she's wearing a sword, so she will benefit from it. And we can also see the big light imperil there, 145%. So that's pretty nice. We can also see, you know, that Rain used a 250% stat buff for all of our stats, you know, so we see that. We also see boosted fire damage. We see, you know, some other stuff like reduced physical damage. We have lots of these buffs, right? And notice for Richt, like Richt has so many, you can actually scroll down to see all these, right? Very cool. So it just gives you a neater way to kind of keep track of all your buffs. I just think it's interesting that, you know, she's wearing a sword, so we get to see the sword in peril there. Very cool. But we're going to go ahead and take this opportunity with Ihana to basically just apply Human Rune to Rain and Human Rune to Knights of Grand Sheldon. And that's pretty much it. So Vilk's just going to attack us a little bit, do a little bit of damage. Nothing too bad because this Vilk is like very, very easy. But that's how you can kind of see, you know, at a glance, you know, what all these new icons and menus do. And you can use it to your advantage to kind of keep track of buffs and stuff like that. So keep track of buffs, keep track of breaks, keep track of imperils, all kinds of things. I'm going to take a second with Ihana here to reopen and apply some those runes to Richt and Fina as well. There we go. And what we're going to do now is we're going to show the other thing that has been added to the game, which is a new way of tracking your chaining. So in the old system, when you would start chaining, you would see that little meter go across the top that would fill up to 300% and stop. And then you would have to kind of like, you would know, okay, now I have built up my full chain. But we know deep down inside that chaining does not stop at 300%. Now, chaining goes much higher, as high as 700% with units like Flaring Rain, who have the 8 times cap. You know, 100%, which is normal chaining, plus 700 is 8x. So there you go. So now when we chain, what we will see instead is that we will see numbers start to climb on all of our units. And what those numbers mean, it's how much bonus that specific unit gets. If you were to click on them in that exact moment. So what you'll see, we're going to start a chain with Richt and Fina. The chain's going to start building. Everybody's going to just kind of start filling up. And then once it fills up high enough, Rain will actually push higher all the way up to 700, and we'll launch him and Knights of Grand Shell together. But just want to show you really quick. And here's that as well. As usual, like I said, you want to wait to use units like Rain later in the chain, and this helps you to time this. But notice now that we have the big human killer buff, we see that here. It was 100% before, now it's 250 because of Ihana's efforts. So cool. We're gonna go ahead and use triple light here and just chain bolting strikes. And Fina's gonna do the same thing. Not banish, come on. And resolute arrow. And then Rain and Knights of Grand Shell are gonna chain together using Absolute Mirror of Equity. There we go. So, like I said, we're going to send Richt and Fina. Our chain's going to start building. You're going to see those numbers climbing up really fast on all of our characters, but Rain's going to go the highest, up to 700% before we launch our attack, which is going to increase his damage quite a bit. Let's take a look at what that looks like. There we go. Obviously, it killed Vilk. We're not too worried about our damage. There we go. I know it doesn't look that impressive, 518,000 or a million. We're not wearing equipment. But the important thing is you could see how the gauge now fills up on the individual characters. We could see that Rain went all the way up to 700% before I chose to launch him, meaning we could maximize our damage output with Rain. Like if we go into it, no surprise here, because he's got the 8x cap. He did the most damage out of the party. Rick did a lot too, but it is what it is. He's a fairly new unit, but he does his thing. So there you go. That is just a brief overview of all the new stuff that's in the new overlay, and how you can use it. So I want to take just a moment here now that we've gone over that. Hopefully that is very useful information for you to try and make sense of the new system. I just want to take a quick moment and say thank you to anybody who has ever watched one of these videos, or liked on one of these videos, or commented on one of these videos, asked a question in the Facebook group, or a YouTube comment, or a Reddit post even. We've gotten lots of questions from lots of different places. So I want to thank everybody who's gotten us to episode 100. I know the last few months have been really sporadic as far as like how these videos get released. There's just been a lot of things going on for me personally, but also just I've been seeing like fewer and fewer like new mechanics that we really need to talk about, and lots of times people are asking questions in the Facebook group that get answered right away because people are being really helpful and even redirecting to some of the old videos, which is really, really cool. I want you guys to keep using the hashtag askanoldmog, so that we can like get questions going. If you've got questions about new stuff that's coming out, ask away in the comments, either on Facebook or on YouTube, so we can make sure we make videos that try and help people understand, what's going on. I want to get back into doing these, especially now that we're at episode 100, see how far we can take this and see how many episodes we can get. I enjoy doing it. As long as you enjoy watching it, I'm going to keep doing it. But if you've got a question you want to see in next week's video, or whatever the next video is, whether it's next week or next month or whatever, if you want to see a question for episode 101, please ask away. That way we can get something going for you and try and help you understand something more about the game. In the meantime, be good to each other, take care, and we'll see you in the next one.